So in this video, we'll talk about equation of the line. We'll see how finding the gradient of the line and how to write the equation of the line. Okay, so in the xy plane or on the grade, we can, between any 2 points, you can draw a line. This is a fact. So for this line, we have vertical distance for this line, which we called it rise. And this rise, it's opposite to 2, or the distance between the opposite numbers on the y-axis. And the same for the horizontal distance, we called it run. And this run is, the distance of this run is the difference between the opposite number on the x-axis. Okay. Now, to find the distance between the rise, or to find the distance of the rise, just you have to subtract the opposite number on the y, which on the y-axis, which is y2 and y1. The same if you want to find the distance or the horizontal distance, you have to subtract the opposite number on the x-axis, all right, which is here x2 and x1. Now we have the gradient, and the gradient actually, the definition of the gradient is the ratio between the rise and the run. So the gradient, or in other curriculum, it's called the slope. The slope here, it's the ratio between the rise and the run. Now, the gradient or the slope, it's represented by letter m. So m here is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is the run. All right, so we will see example how to find graphically the gradient of the line. See this example here on the xy plane. See line L1. So line L1 here, we want to find the gradient of this line. Now, to find the gradient, we have to find first the vertical distance. So the vertical distance here, this line is opposite to the numbers on the y-axis, which is 2 and 5. And the horizontal distance of this line, it's opposite actually to 5 and 1. Now to find the rise, we have to subtract 5 minus 2 on the y-axis. And to find the run, we have to subtract 5 and 1 to find the run. Now, so the slope m is the ratio of the rise and run. So 5 minus 2 over 5 minus 1. The answer is 3 over 4, which is the slope of, or the gradient of this line. Now look to this line, the red one, L2. So L2 here, the vertical distance, we have to find it first. So it's opposite on the y-axis to two numbers, -5 and -1. And on the x-axis, it's opposite to 1 and 3. Now we have to find the difference between -5 and -1 on the y-axis, and we have to find the run, which is the difference between 3 and 1. And then we have to divide it by each other. So the slope here of this line, or L2, -5 minus -1, divide 3 minus 1. So the answer is -2. See now, L1 has a positive gradient and L2 has negative gradient. Look to this line, the third line, L3. L3 actually is horizontal line. So in the horizontal line, it's opposite only to one number on y-axis, which is 3, but opposite to, on the horizontal distance, to two numbers on the x-axis, -5 and -1. So if you want to find the gradient of the horizontal line, actually it's 3 minus 3 divide -5 minus -1, but the answer actually is 0. So the gradient or the slope of the horizontal line is equal 0 always. Now look to this line, which is vertical line, L4. Now L4, it's opposite to one number on the x-axis, which is -3, but there's two number on y-axis, -2 and -4. But if you want to find the gradient by finding the ratio of the rise and run, look to the denominator. The denominator, it's become 0 since we have -3 minus -3. So if you want to find the gradient here, you have to divide by 0. And you know, we cannot divide in mathematics, we cannot divide by 0, so it's undefined. So means that the gradient of the vertical line is always undefined. So there is no slope or no gradient for any vertical. So in fact, if you have upward line like this one, so we have positive gradient. If we have downward line like this one, so we have negative gradient. But if you have horizontal line like this one, you have 0 of the gradient, but the vertical, there is no gradient, means that it's undefined gradient. Okay, see this example. So we have this xy plane and we have this line. Now, here in this example, we're gonna finding the equation of this line. Now, number one, we have to check where's the intercept. Y-intercept actually is the intersection between the line and the y-axis. So this is the y-intercept here. The y-intercept, it's on 0 and 2. And we can call the y-intercept, or the number of the y-intercept by c. So c here equal to. In another curriculum, it's b. You can find it b. So some curriculum c, some curriculum b. So here c equal to, which is the y-intercept, and then find the slope or the gradient of this line. Now here the vertical distance, we have to find it. Look, it's opposite to 0 and 4. So the vertical distance is 4. And the horizontal distance, since it's between -2 and 2, if you find the subtraction between -2 and 2, you will find it is 4. So the horizontal distance 4. And look to this line. This line is upward line, so mean that we have positive gradient. Okay, so the gradient or the slope is 4 over 4. The rise over run, which is equal 1. Now, how to write the equation of the line? The equation of the line, if you want to write it, use this formula, which is y equal the slope or the gradient times x plus the y-intercept, which is c. So just substitute the numbers here, which is the gradient 1 and the y-intercept 2. So actually y equal 1x plus 2. But 1 can be hidden if it's coefficient, so y equal x plus 2, which is the equation of this line. Another example, we have this line. And this line, look, it's downward line, mean that we have negative gradient. Now, the y-intercept here, actually it's 4. So since the intersection between this line and the y-intercept, it's at 4. So mean that the y-intercept 0 and 4, or mean that c equal 4. And here we have the horizontal distance. It's between -3 and 3. So the horizontal distance here, you can find it by subtract 3 minus -3. And the vertical distance between 3 and 5. So it's 5 minus 3. So the vertical distance or the rise is 2 and the run is 6. So the gradient here is negative gradient. So find it by dividing 2 divide 6, but with negative since you have downward line. So it's -1/3. Now use the formula y equal mx plus c and substitute the numbers. So y equal -1/3 x plus 4, which is the equation of this. Another example, here we have this line. So this line is horizontal line. All right. So the y-intercept here, it's at 3. So mean that 0 and 3, which is the y-intercept. So c equal 3. Now here the gradient is 0 gradient. So since it's horizontal line, so the gradient equals 0. So we can use direct the formula. Okay, so you know the gradient here is 0, so y equals 0x plus 3. Mean that y equals 3, you can write it directly. So mean that any horizontal line, we can represent it by y equal the y-intercept. So here, for example, this line, the red line, it's y equal -2, since the y-intercept here is -2. Even the x-axis is also a horizontal line, and the y-intercept here is 0, so we can represent it by y equals 0, which is the equation of the x-axis. Okay, so this is how to write directly the equation of any horizontal line. Another example, see this line. This line is vertical line, and we know here we have no gradient. So there is no gradient, and also there is no y-intercept because the vertical line is parallel to the y-axis, so there is no y-intercept. Now here, if you want to find or to write the equation of this line, actually you cannot represent it by y, just you have to represent it by x, so x equal -4. So any vertical line, we can represent it by x. For example, this one, it's x equal 2. Even the y-axis, since the y-axis is vertical line, we can represent by x equals 0 since it's intersect with the x-axis with 0. Now, how to write or to find the equation of the line algebraically? Look to this example. Write the equation of the line which has a gradient m equal 3 and pass through 0 and 2. Now 0 and 2, actually it's the y-intercept. So here, if you want to find the equation of the line, direct just substitute the values inside the formula y equal mx plus c. So here, if you want to substitute, so y equal 3x plus 2. So here in this example, directly we can find the equation of the line. But number 2, the equation has the gradient or the slope is 7, but passes through 1 and 5. Now 1 and 5, it's not y-intercept, since x here, it's not equal 0. So here, if you want to find the equation of the line, number 1, substitute the value of the slope or m in the formula, so y equal 7x plus c. Now here the point, the given point, it's 1 and 5. So mean that x equal 1, and y equal 5. So substitute these two numbers inside the equation. So since y equal 5 and x equal 1, substitute in the equation and do your calculation. So 5 equals 7 plus 5. So by subtracting 7 from both sides, we will have c equal negative 2. So here, the slope or the gradient is 7 and the y-intercept is negative 2. So the equation is y equals 7x minus 2. Look to this example. Here, write the equation of the line that passes through 2 points, 5 and 8, and 2 and negative 7. So here the gradient is not given and the y-intercept is not given. How to do this question? Number one, find the gradient or the slope by using the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here the y is, or the first point has x equal 5 and y equal 8. The second point has 2 equal, or x equal 2 and y equal negative 7. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, put y2, which is negative 7, minus, and y1, which is 8, and down x2, which is 2, minus, and x1, which is 5. Now, do your calculation, you will find the answer is equal 5. So here we have upward line. Now, by using the formula y equal mx plus c, we have the value of the slope or the gradient is 5. Now, how to find c? Use any point, 5 and 8 or 2 and negative 7. It's up to you. So here I will use 5 and 8 by substituting 8 in the place of y and 5 in the place of x. Like this, and do your calculation. So it will be 8 equal 25 plus c. By subtracting 25 from both sides, I will have c equal negative 17. So I have the value of c, I have the value of the slope or the gradient, so I can direct substitute it in the formula y equal 5x minus 70. So this is the equation of the line, or how to find the equation of the line algebra. All right, so in this video, we talk about the gradient, how to find it, which is by finding the ratio of the rise and run, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this line is upward line, has positive gradient. This line, downward line, has negative gradient. This one, horizontal line, always the gradient equals 0. And the vertical line has no gradient or it's undefined. And the formula of the equation of the line, which is y equal mx plus c. So this is part 1 of how to write an equation of the line. See you inshallah in next video.